There's this idea that fluency is some kind of far-off destination, something you get to after you've mastered all the complex grammar and a mountain of vocabulary. But what if I told you that's not really how it works? See, fluency isn't built on complexity. It's actually built on what you do every single day. So, welcome to Lesson 22, talking about your daily routine, or as we say in German, Tagesablauf. Now, this is not just another vocab list. Oh no. This is about unlocking the very foundation of how you can express your life in German starting today. Because here's the thing about German. Fluency doesn't start with the complicated stuff. It begins with structure. It begins with your ability to describe the world you already know inside and out, your own life. And that leads us to this core idea. Just think about it for a second. What you do every day becomes what you can say every day. It just makes sense, right? This is how the language stops being some abstract thing and becomes personal, practical, and honestly powerful, right from the very start. Okay, so how do we actually do that? Well, we start by mastering the engine of the German language. And believe it or not, it really just comes down to one fundamental rule of sentence structure. Once you get this, and I mean really get it, you gain control. The guesswork just disappears, and you can start building sentences with total confidence. All right, let's look at our first example. Ich stehe 7 Uhr auf. Pretty simple, right? I get up at 7 o'clock. An everyday action. But I want you to pay really close attention to the verb here. The main part, stehe, is sitting right there in the second spot in the sentence. Let's try another one. Ich arbeite am Tag. I work during the day. And again, just notice the pattern. We have the subject, ich, in position 1, and the verb, arbeite, is right there in position 2. You're starting to see the consistency, aren't you? Now this example, this is the one that really locks in the rule. Am Abend lese ich. In the evening, I read. So we flipped the word order around. We started with the time phrase. But look, what happened to the verb lese? It is still holding that second position. The subject, ich, actually had to move to make room for it. How cool is that? And that's the absolute key takeaway. A verb is almost always in position 2. This isn't a suggestion. It's the structural backbone of a German sentence. See, German isn't random. It is highly structured. And when you master this one rule, you start to feel like you're in the driver's seat. You're controlling the language, not the other way around. Okay, so we've got the theory down. Now let's see how this builds from just a rule on a screen into a real, living conversation. Because, knowing the rule is one thing, but seeing it in a natural human exchange, that's when it truly clicks. It all kicks off with a question. Anna asks Lucas, Was machst du am Morgen? What do you do in the morning? Questions are the engine of conversation, right? And hey, even in her question, notice where the verb machst is? Yup, position 2. And look at how Lucas responds. He uses the exact structure we just learned. Ich stehe und ich frühstücke. He's describing his life, and then, crucially, he keeps the ball rolling by asking, Und du? And you? Now it's Anna's turn. A simple, functional sentence. Ich arbeite im Büro. I work in an office. Subject, verb in position 2, then the details. She demonstrates the structure perfectly and again passes the conversation right back. And Lucas wraps it up with that more advanced structure we saw earlier. Am Abend sehe ich Fern. In the evening, I watch TV. He starts with a time, but the verb sehe holds firm in position 2. This isn't memorized text. This is lived language. So, how do you get from just observing this to actually doing it yourself? How do you make this language yours? The key is having a clear, actionable framework for practice. It's really just a 3-step process. First, read the dialogue aloud to get a feel for the rhythm. Second, and this is the most important part, replace their words with details from your own life. So instead of 6 o'clock, maybe it's 8 o'clock. Instead of an office, maybe you learn German. And third, practice with a partner. Ask and answer these questions. This is how you make that jump from passive study to active speech. So I'll ask you directly, right now. Was machst du am Morgen? What do you do in the morning? Try to answer it right now in your head using that simple ich structure. Describe your life in German, repeat it daily, and fluency will follow. When you practice this consistently, something deeper starts to happen. It's a fundamental shift. You're not just learning vocabulary, you're actually rewiring how you think about your own daily existence. This
This is the final transformation.
Because at this stage, you start to realize you are not just learning German. You are learning to think in German, to structure your thoughts and express your own reality through the logic of a new language. And that is the real goal. So, speak your life in German every day. That is how fluency is built. Quietly, consistently, and powerfully.